Go. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. It's like time to go? It's like time for me to like take a little sip of this? How do I look? I got lipstick on my teeth. Are we ready? Oh, good evening. You're watching Off Color, powered by Versa, Colorado. I'm your host, Rebekah Henderson, aka the Tan Tigress. That's my nickname because I'm half black and half white, and I'm all yours. The next 30 to 45 minutes anyway. Okay, we're gonna get our show started. This is your first time tuning in. Please be mindful that there will be topics about race, racism. There will be mention of whiteness. So if that is going to trigger you, I suggest you turn up the volume and pay close attention, okay? So some of the things we're gonna get into tonight on this episode of Off Color powered by Versa, we are gonna talk about colorism. We are going to talk about women of color in journalism, and we will be wrapping up with the Denver elections, which is a hefty topic. My guest tonight is, speaking of elections, she's known as the mayor of 5 Points. She's an Emmy award-winning journalist and filmmaker. I'd like to welcome to Off Color powered by Versa, the illustrious, the gorgeous Tamara Banks. Silly, hi.
So good, thank you.
The
mayor of
much.
5 Points. That's funny.
That's what they call you. That's like what I heard.
It's sweet because that's an amazing neighborhood. One of the few culturally historic neighborhoods barely surviving in the city and county of Denver.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful place. Great place to live. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, what's left of it, I guess.
Yeah, it's changing. You know, whenever I do stories in the past couple of years talking about gentrification, talking about just the historical perspective, the historical background of this great black community, and there's no black people to shoot video of. It's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well, the 5 Points Jazz Festival is coming up.
That's right.
And the Rustonian is supposed to be opening up for it.
Yep, they'll be open for a few hours. Yep.
Yeah, and so our previous guest that we had on was Danette Hollowell. She'll actually be singing, I think at 11:15. Mm-hmm. So that in the newly, it's very exciting. So I think that's really cool.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, that neighborhood has changed quite a bit. As you know, I'm not from here, so it's always like a little bit. But anyway, I'm so glad that you I can't believe you actually agreed to come on here after the last couple times you've been on the other various iterations of Off Color. But I don't know if you remember this, the first time you came on the show, and it was in my basement. As you noticed, I've moved on up.
To the 21st floor?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And it is nice here, okay? I'm a big star now. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. So, but the first time you came on, it was with our friend, the dearly departed Dr. Gregory Diggs.
Right.
And I just remember that I was like, you guys, I have some news. And I got so excited to share this news with you. And the news was that Meghan Markle had gotten engaged to Prince Harry.
That's right. That was kind of cool.
And it was like, and we were talking about it as women who are mixed race or black and white and living in America, and what an amazing it was just, it felt historic, and it was a very loving and positive story. And so I don't know if you've heard, but they
have I not heard?
They've recently had a baby.
Really?
Yeah, the royal baby was born, and his name is Archie. Okay.
I'm not feeling the name.
I mean,
I'm not.
I feel like it's a danger. Like, why would you name your baby Archie when the daddy has red hair?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also, there is like a serious possibility that baby is gonna have red hair and like freckles.
Right. But you know what's cool? We got a brother.
Yeah.
In the palace.
That's
awesome.
I think it's going to be interesting to see. But one of the things that came up, because I do a lot of stuff around mixed race identity and that kind of thing. But was having him, like, people were very concerned about what his complexion was going to be, what his hair texture was going to be. There's a lot of talk about that.
Talk and angst over it, quite frankly.
Well, I was concerned for them.
Racist, yeah.
Well, but for me, I'm coming from a different place, because for me, I feel like Meghan Markle and I are like twins.
Well, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, like
we
look.
I just assumed you were until you told me.
Like one time I was in Paris and like they thought I was the Duchess. They were like, "Are you the Duchess?" I was like, "Yeah, we." Okay, maybe.
Anyway,
I'm not a journalist. Okay, I can lie as much as I want, but journalists should not.
Never.
Okay. Anyway, sorry, I got off subject on that one, but I wanted to know what he was going to look like because I thought he was going to look like my son. You've seen my son. He was born with red hair and blue eyes. And he is essentially the sort of, the same mix, right? He's got a half black, half white mother and like a mostly white father. Because I would assume Prince Harry also has, Queen Charlotte was like his ancestor. They're like cousins somewhere along the line. And so I feel like with my husband being mixed race and, descendant of Jamaicans, that I just thought the baby would be tan. I didn't know he was going to be like totally white with like red hair and blue eyes.
For now.
So, yes, for now. But I mean, that's what he looks like. He's got, now he has blonde hair, so there's that. Anyway, I did wonder what the baby would look like, and I'm sure they were very curious, and that's speculation. So I'm very happy for them, and like Michelle Obama, my classy idol, if you can just, there you go. Yeah, totally natural. Don't worry, guys. I'm like sweating. I'm gonna drink this. Stand by.
That'll really help.
Mm.
There you go.
So I didn't know if you had heard this, though. There was a BBC radio host. He was fired.
Right.
For making like a racist tweet about the baby.
This is, it shouldn't surprise anybody. I mean, we live in a world that is, where racism is alive and well, and the two biggest countries that are the perpetrators are the U.S. and the U.K. And thank God at least he was fired, because not too long ago he wouldn't have been fired, not even reprimanded. So at least we're in this era where it's not acceptable. I mean, we all know it's wrong, but it was always like, well, they're just playing, they're just kidding. Well, it's mean-spirited, it's hurtful, and it does not move the needle in terms of progress in bringing people together. It's divisive at best.
Well, that guy got fired, and he deserved it. That's what I have to say. Bye, Sir Felicia.
Yeah, and I'm sure this wasn't his first time, and he's probably shocked.
Yeah,
his first time.
Yeah, well, that's what. Yeah. When they get called out, sometimes it gets a little awkward. Is anybody watching this, by the way? Hello. Okay. Oh, hello. Okay. So that's good news, I feel like. The full name is Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor.
And I love Harrison. That's kind of a cool name.
Harrison, yeah.
Yeah.
What about Mountbatten? What kind of name is that? Do you know?
Yeah, isn't that... See, I just briefly heard something about that. That's almost like a designation of... Not Lord or Sir, or something, but in that vein, I think.
Okay. And is he anyway in line for the throne? Does anybody know?
No.
Yeah. Eighth in line for the throne? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have to mess that up for him to... Yeah. But that would be kind of cool.
I mean, I'm just saying. We're just saying, England. Okay. Yeah. All right, Brexit that, bitches. Yeah. Okay.
Just call him Brexit. Let's just have
all right. Well, speaking of complexions. Yeah. One of the things that I was interested in kind of talking with you about is because you and I are both mixed race. Your mom was
white.
She was white, of like French descent. Right? Because you grew up in
kind of all over, but mostly my family's from Louisiana.
Okay.
Spent a lot of time in Albuquerque and
that's news to me.
Couple of years in Denver.
Okay. Yeah. Things are making more sense now. Okay. I didn't realize that you'd lived in Albuquerque
for a minute.
Yeah. Okay. In the Kirk. Just kidding. No one calls it that. I made that up. I just made it up. I'm sorry. Am I tapping my nails? By the way, I was told not to tap my nails because it messes up the sound.
Do you feel oppressed?
I feel really oppressed because it's like, what's the point of getting nails? I mean, okay. All right. So I want to talk about a topic that I feel like we don't necessarily always get into beyond like a surface discussion about colorism, particularly in the Black community. And I think, the old saying, if you're, what is it? If you're white, you're right. If you're brown, stick around. If you're Black,
something really bad.
Yeah, get back. Right. Yeah. So that is something, that I grew up with. We're not that far apart in age, and we're just so young.
Thank you.
We're just so young.
Black
Even half black don't be cracking, Okay. Sorry. I don't know how appropriate any of this conversation is. I don't want to mess up your
your reputation.
Yes,
that went away a long time ago.
But I just think sometimes I've been noticing lately. So something I watched a video. It's from it's the For Harriet YouTube channel, and she what's her name? Kimberly, I think Kimberly N. Foster, and she has this great video where she talks about like how multiracial or being mixed is like in style now. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that trend?
Oh, sure. I mean, you see it in commercials. Right? Oh, let's get diversity on the Nike ad or the car ads. And so it's the ambiguously race person that they could be anything from African American to Latinx to Middle Eastern, what have you.
Yeah.
And so, okay, it is trendy, but I think that we have to make sure that that doesn't mean that those folks, that we don't have our own identity as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That you just didn't take a couple of crayons and mix them together and do
so
something.
and that's something I feel like that's happening. I mean, people are saying that it's these light mixed people are getting all of the work, all of the jobs, and we hardly ever see. That's why it was such a big deal, like Lupita Nyong'o. You know what I mean? Like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
To have
but
dark
see,
skinned
and to
women.
that point, Lupita, they're not getting all the jobs. They're not getting all the Oscars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the other thing to keep in mind is, and my brother and sister are dancers, and my brother's also an actor. And in their cases, and as well as mine, well, you're not quite black enough for the role that we're looking at.
Yeah.
So when we start saying, well, you have it easier because you're lighter, or you have it easier because you're darker, stop. Just stop. Stop now. Yeah. Let's pull together and figure out a way to, if the real issue is sexism and chauvinism, let's deal with that issue. If the real issue is racism, let's deal with that and not be crabs in a barrel and try to step on each other to get out of the barrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying.
No, and I am hearing you, and I feel like sometimes, I mean, I get that feeling. I think is very common. You're not black enough, you're not white enough. Then for us, it's like, I know that there's no way that no one has asked you what you are in your life, right?
Of course, yeah.
That's a very common like question for mixed race people. But
and it also depends on what part of the country. Like in Louisiana, where my dad's from, people are used to seeing a rainbow of people that are lighter than me and obviously much darker than me, and just know, okay, your sister girl,
Yeah.
There's no question. But you come to the West or the North, it's like, well, no, you're not really black. Well, what does that mean? And that's
I'm
insulting.
like, you about to find out.
Take off my jewelry.
I'm like, is it time? No,
Yeah.
just kidding. That's a trope. That's a stereotype.
But true.
Pardon me. Whatever, though, is true, though, girl. We can take our earrings off in a minute for a fight, right?
I mean, please. You'll see.
Don't let Tamara Banks jump out of a 5 points bag.
That's funny. Right.
But because that was one of the one of the people they mentioned in this video by Kimberly Foster was like Ariana Grande, and that was kind of going around a couple weeks ago with her, like how she looks now and her tan, and like because it's hot and it's always, but it is always rooted in this idea of like blackness being cool and blackness being,
That's right. Stop stealing our stuff. So maybe it's just me, but I could have sworn, and I really love what's my girl's name. White girl, Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or did they color her up in these Avenger movies recently? Because I think they've colored her up. Check it out. And I'm like, and it's not like she's getting a tan, saving the universes. But I mean, but check it out. And,
okay.
Especially not so much in Endgame, great movie by the way, 3 hours. But check out Infinity Wars and the ones prior to that. They colored her up. To your point, that now suddenly, why are white actors and actresses looking like they're browner than they are?
Well, and that's I think, tied
just
into...
hire a brown one. I'm just saying.
I mean, because that was the thing. There's all these like women, they call it blackfishing, I think it's called. And it's like on Instagram. Have you guys seen that? Have you seen blackfishing? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? You ever heard of it?
I'm going to look it up.
Man, I thought you were a millennial producer. Damn. Anyway, I'm like, you gotta keep on top of these things. So it's white women who apply like dark makeup and tanning and stuff and different hairstyles. They're like Rachel Dolezal.
Oh yeah.
Nobody can talk about racial Dolezal. Did you hear what I just said? Rachel Dolezal, because she had so many people giving us half black people some side eyes, right?
Right.
And she just, it's like, oh, and the other one too that looks like that, Kim Kardashian.
Oh my God.
But they're not, but see, I never thought they were like white, because they're like something, aren't they?
Persian?
They're Armenian. I mean,
okay.
In the butt, I mean.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
No, but then they're having all these like mixed race babies. But the other side of that, the serious side of it, like with my film, The All Mixed Up Are Changing Racial Identities. Mm-hmm. That's my film. But it's also like multiracial people are the fastest growing demographic in the United States.
That's right.
And so the media, the marketing is going to like also reflect that, because people not like us, we're like that loving generation, right? And so people who are younger than us, they're coming up and it's like, it's cool to be mixed race, and it's more, I think it's more accepted, but I'm not.
No, that's what I was going to ask you. When you say cool, what do you mean? Are you saying it's more accepted? And what I would say is, let's stand on a corner in Boston and try to catch a cab and then find out how cool it is. You know what I'm saying? Like keeping it real. I'm not saying that poor, pitiful us. I'm just saying that taking an issue of saying I'm not saying you're saying this, but it's cool now to be darker, then go through the whole experience. Like, just don't do it because you think it's a fashion statement.
Yeah.
Get the whole experience and being oppressed and not being hired or not being promoted or having a cab drive by you once they look at you and they go, we're not going to stop for this ride. Yeah. So, and then get to know the history. Go to the African American History in D.C. Go to the Black American West Museum. Go to the Blair Caldwell African American Research Library and really get to know the history. Don't put on a color like you're putting on a new pair of shoes or a new hat. That kind of irks me.
Well, that was what I always would say about Rachel Dolezal. Was like, I'm like, you're wearing my identity like a costume.
Exactly.
You know, and how I choose to connect with my blackness is nobody's business ultimately.
Right. That's right.
So it's just I feel like it's a sticky subject, but I also think like there's the idea of like the quote unquote like the tragic mulatta, right? You know, that story of mixed race people, particularly women also, and men, but just like, you know, where do we fit in? And I think the piece that I want to take it back to saying that we have like our own identity.
That's right.
And it's okay for us to like have our identity, and it's okay for us to like change our identity like over time.
We don't have to pick. You know, especially we never should have had to pick, but especially millennials and younger people now, it's not, there shouldn't be this expectation, well, which do you identify with more? Well, maybe I'm 50. You know, my brother and sister and I, full-blooded siblings, but we see it differently, and each of us gets to own how we want to self-identify any way that we want to, not the way society wants us to. Yeah. So I think it's something worth thinking about, and also knowing that sometimes I get the feeling that people think like we think we're like better than them, or you know what I'm saying? I'm
like,
glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
You know, and I've had this experience with dark-skinned women, not very often, but one in particular, it just was heartbreaking because we had I'd applied to this station, talked to the general manager, got hired. This person, friend of mine, darker skinned, called me, how dare you not let me know that you're coming? You didn't even let them know that we knew each other, so on and so forth. And I kept trying to, it was one of those things where you're like, I didn't realize I did anything wrong. Because we weren't like that we're not friends like that.
Yeah.
Like I would need you to pave the way. Then I realized she kind of needed me to give her, or for her to give me permission. But then I dug a little deeper and I'm like, what is this really about? And I kept asking questions because I wanted to understand what I had done so horribly wrong. She finally went, it's just that this has happened to me before in another station where a light-skinned sister got promoted over me, and she had light skin, straight hair, light eyes. I'm like, oh, that's what it is. So I went from Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, what's your freaking problem, to my sister.
Yeah.
You're hurt. Okay, let's deal with that. Yeah. Let's heal that. Let's talk about that. First of all, I'm not that person. Secondly, let's have that conversation and know that that damage that was done to you, you're right, you own it, and you are it's understandable that you're feeling that pain. But let's talk about that. Let's not try to say that I need to come through you to get permission and that I'm trying to step on you because I think I'm better than you.
That's where I think it gets kind of where I want to talk about it, where I want to say like, hey, like I know that the texture of my hair like maybe hurts you for reasons you don't even know. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you don't even know why you're like mad at me or feeling some kind of way about me.
They don't even want to be mad most of the time, but you're right. Some folks, they just are. And being able to identify and talk about it, like you said, like elevating the conversation. Yeah. Then we can address it on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's something worth having, but I also think it's something worth saying that to remember that if people ask you like what you are, then they don't think you're white.
That's
like,
right.
Like they don't know what you are,
right.
But they don't think you're white.
Yeah.
And so like that to me is like, that's so much of my identity is rooted in that questioning of my race, and which is one of the reasons that I so strongly identify as Black.
That's right.
You know,
I'm right with you. Exactly.
So, and I think it also has something to do with the time. I don't know if any mixed race millennials are checking this out right now, but I would love to hear from you to know, or
It'd
younger,
to see. Yeah.
You know, just to kind of have an idea like how they're feeling about it.
Right. Right, and how they show up.
It's it's an ongoing conversation, but I don't shy away from things that are uncomfortable, as you know.
I know this. Yeah, this is true.
So I'm happy to like continue to talk about it. You know, going forward, it's just something that I think we need to like address as a community, especially if we want everybody to have success and achieve and do all the things that we want. Right.
Because there's plenty of success for everybody.
There is.
It's the abundance mentality, not the scarcity mentality.
And I love it personally when I get to see somebody cast as actually like a mixed race person.
Right.
Versus putting you in a role and being like, here's our Black lead.
Right.
I'd rather have it be like Meghan Markle when she was on Suits and her dad's the Black guy from The Wire, right? Like I'd rather like show it like that. Like why can't we just like be ourselves?
Right.
So put that in your pipe and smoke it, Colorado, and whoever else is watching. Oprah, are you there, Oprah? Still looking for that Oprah Connect. So if anyone out there knows Oprah,
well, call Gail.
Gail, wait, are you friends with Gail? Stop it. We can talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. Okay, But speaking of journalists, I wanted to talk about the lack of representation of Black women and men specifically in journalism and in local news, particularly in the state of Colorado. And I know there are not that many Black people in Colorado, but there's not so few that we shouldn't be seeing them on the news. You know what I'm saying? Like on the local news.
So it's crazy. It hasn't changed since I was on local news. And I've been doing more, as you know, international and national news for the past, 10, 12 years or so now. And so you'd think it would be better. We would be represented more. And so it's stunning to me that there hasn't been this effort, this really intentional effort to get Black folks here and to keep them here. I have much respect for my colleagues who are still on the air here at local news, Shaw Turner, Kumasi, Aaron, Justin Adams. There's Zora.
Girl, you look like me naming Black librarians.
I know, right? And so the problem is, here's an example. last year, I think it was in the summertime, the Denver Press Club held a conversation around, the topic was, interestingly enough, around is local TV news dead or dying? Okay, so they had all the representation there from the major stations talking about, no, it's all about storytelling, and local TV is still viable, and storytelling this and storytelling that and So I'm looking around the top floor of the Denver Press Club, and it's packed. It's people standing.
Yeah.
There are 90.99% people in that room were all white people. I saw 2 Latinas sitting in front of me. So they're going on about, it's all about storytelling, all about storytelling. And I raised my hand and I say, if it's all about storytelling, then why don't we have some black people telling stories? And then it was this defensive, not everyone, there's some really awesome people trying to do the right thing. Linda Kay over at Channel 9, I worked for her when I was at 2, and she was at 2. But the vast majority of the leadership was saying, well, we can't find anybody. Okay, have you gone to any HBCUs, historically black universities and colleges and universities? Have you gone to NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists? So you're not going to find a polo pony in a pasture with rabbits. I mean, just like, well, how can you?
I forgot you're a horsewoman. I'm like, wait, what? What kind of analogy is this?
The point is, that's the point. If you're not looking in the right places for people, then you're not going to find them. Then it was like, well, it's difficult to keep them here. So, okay, it's difficult to keep them here. But is that because they're not getting paid? They're not getting promoted? They're not getting the key jobs? They're not the ones being sent overseas to cover the war? Who's covering those stories? The white males? Oh, okay. Well, see, if my opportunities are at another station, another market, or being a freelancer and pitching the stories to international news organizations like I do, I'm going to go do that if I want to further my career. And that's what a lot of black men and women have done in this market.
Well, because we had one, I used to always like her, Taronda.
Awesome.
Okay, and I liked her. I tried to get her too. Girl, then she moved. Because I wanted her, and she did. She left.
Yeah,
because I wanted her to come see my film, Mixed Race, because she does have mixed children.
That's right, she does. Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to talk to her, and I was trying to track her down, and then it turned out she was already gone.
Yeah, just last year. Mm-hmm.
So... And she spoke about it. There's an article in the Westward. They did a really full feature on her, and it should be in the comments here if you want to check out the article. But I mean,
and by the way, I applaud what's my author's name? My boy, let's see, Westward, the author who wrote that. And I'll think of his name in a second. He did a really great job in that story, and he left out a reporter at Fox 31, but the story was still true. We still don't have enough folks.
Yeah. And so, because it's like, and she was saying, like, it's one in, one out, right?
Mike Roberts, right?
Mike Roberts?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What up, Mikey?
Yeah, he did a good job.
Ooh, you just got blessed by the queen. the mayor of 5 points.
Yeah, but you're right, one in, one out. So they check the box and that's it.
Is Byron still here?
The videographer?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I ain't seen him in a minute. I heard a rumor he had left. Byron,
now,
you still here?
That could be. Let's find out.
Byron, if you're out there, give me a call, buddy.
You know what CBS 4 just did? That they promoted my friend Kevin Hartfield to chief videographer.
All right, well, shouts out.
And they haven't had one in many years. So I'm glad that he's, gotten the promotion that he's so well deserved over these years.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of white stuff, let's talk about the Denver elections that had just happened. Wait, how are we on time, fam? We're good? Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going in. We're going in hard. So, as some people know, but I'm working on a documentary about women of color running for local office here in Denver, and it's called Running with My Girls, because they're like my home girls. So we had our elections, our municipal elections were just this past Tuesday evening, May 7th. And I'm feeling emotional. Stand by.
It was an interesting, first of all, the good news is the high turnout
It was a record. It's record breaking. It was 44% in a municipal
awesome.
election, which is
Right,
up.
right.
I think from 2015, it was like 28%, something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty awesome. 39% of the city's registered voters weighed in, which is amazing, and that's great. I don't think it was a surprise to many that Mayor Michael Hancock, the incumbent, was one of the front runners. I think what was surprising to a lot of people was who is going to be running against him in the runoff. And I think here we are again, we're talking about making sure that women get equal footing, and just like after the Civil Rights Act, white women are taking the lead in many of the places that women of color are left behind. Now, I'm just spitting out the facts. I'm not taking a position on who I voted for or who I'm supporting. But I did find it interesting that a candidate who just came into the neighborhood, into Denver, and I'm all about people who've never run for office running for office, especially women. But now saying that her stance is going to be cutting back on development, this individual has helped rebrand 80205. I've known it, and many people in this community, in this country, in this city, in this state have known it as 5 Points. Rebranding it as River North Rhino. I, as a resident of the area, think that feels like colonizing. And then in the same breath, like I said, now saying you're going to pull back on development. So it'll be interesting to see where she stands now, and I'm hoping
her whole campaign is backed by developers. This is public knowledge. Like, all you have to do is go to the Colorado Secretary of State page and look, and you can see where every person's donations come from.
Yeah.
So she's backed by developers. Michael Hancock is also backed by developers and oil and gas. And he said in one of the forums, they asked him, like, what about fracking? And he was like, no fracking, except for by the airport. He said that.
So I think one of the things that this election shows, particularly the mayoral election, is that there are a number of people who are new to the area and maybe don't have an attachment or a commitment to something that drew them here. So the very things that are pulling people and attracting people to Denver are the very things that are being torn down and destroyed, which I find.
So I'm going to say something that I know is probably going to end up getting me in trouble. So you can let people know that you, Tamara Banks, have no true affiliation with Rebekah Henderson.
There we go.
AKA the Tan Tigress. Colorado Black Women for Political Action. It's a group. And they worked with our most esteemed mayor, Wellington Webb, who's a black man who was the first black mayor of Denver. It was quite historic. It was like a really, and he's a legend. And they brought in the authors of the book for colored girls who have considered politics. It's Donna Brazile, Yolanda Caraway. The other names escape me, but just for the purpose of, they brought these women in, and they had this really nice event and a book signing. And I thought it was crazy that we had Dr. Lisa Calderon in the room. Jamie Gellis was there too for a little bit, taking pictures. Sorry, girl, but you did do that. Right? But nobody mentioned that we had this historic first woman of color on the ballot and that she was black. And nobody mentioned that at all. I mentioned it, and I got booted.
You got kicked out?
I did. And because they thought I was like campaigning for Lisa, and I kept telling them, like, I'm not Lisa's campaign staff, and I never was. Like, I support her, she's my friend, and I'm making this documentary. But I thought it was really distressing to me that it wasn't, like, even just an acknowledgement that, like, hey, we have a woman of color on the ballot right now.
Right. I mean, and they can endorse anyone they choose to. But based on what you said, if they didn't even acknowledge the fact that they had a black woman, a woman of color, what have you, on the ballot, that's interesting to me. I find that I'm wondering why. Like, just acknowledge and encourage her from the standpoint of being a woman of color, stepping into this space and getting on the ballot for the first time. Doesn't mean you endorse her.
That's what I was saying. I just didn't understand like how, and so I'm so concerned about like this is what working on this documentary has kind of opened my eyes to that. Like I want people to be transparent. I want real relationships. I want my representative to reflect me and my values and all of those things. And it just like really it upset me. I was like mad about it. Because I just felt like it was like, this is like a historic thing, and regardless of who you're supporting, because I know that they are very much Team Hancock, and that's fine. But just to like acknowledge that like we had this amazing candidate.
And don't even put the adjective there. You know, maybe they don't want to put the adjective amazing. But she is a woman of color on the ballot.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fact.
For the first time.
The other thing I found interesting, and I'm really curious, because I really respect CBWPA.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not trying to say,
no,
I just thought it was weird.
Yeah. So, let's dig
Don't
more
at
into
me.
that. But the other thing I find fascinating is ever since the campaign started and we started hearing who was going to be running for office, and I was, and still, dumbfounded by the number of people in the black community, black folks, who were upset with Penfield Tate running. And I was like, really? Why? What's the scandal? What happened? What did I miss?
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, he can't be running against Michael Hancock. Why? Well, we can only have one black person run? White folks have 2, 3, 4. You know, I mean, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So what is it about us that we can't hold? It's like this thing that we can't hold each other accountable. Like, just because Penfield is running doesn't mean that Mayor Hancock's not black enough or not doing that we're trying to be crabs in a barrel. What it says is, policy-wise, this black person had a different opinion about how the city should be run. So that black person decided to run. This is what we do in a democracy. What's the problem?
Okay, so I don't even care about that, because you know what? I'm drunk.
And by the way,
kidding.
have we forgotten that Wellington Webb and Norm Early, the district attorney, Norm Early, back in mid-90s, it was before
we were born or whatever.
Yeah, it was before I think I was 5 or something. But, you know, those two black candidates ran. So I don't understand this notion that we can't have multiple black folks running.
Well, so
for
my
office.
issue with it more was then Lisa declared her, that she was running, and then as soon as she declared, a few weeks later, then Jamie Gillis declared herself to run. And I guess I don't know. They're just it
You think it was
me.
a timing thing that Jamie was riding on the coattails of.
Yeah, it was running of like running as a woman candidate, and talking about, because it's historic. We've never had a woman mayor in Denver,
right?
And it would have.
We've had women candidates,
not on the ballot for mayor,
right? But we've had, right?
I mean, that's just
right.
So, okay.
So you're saying that two women can't
run. Well, I just thought it was an interesting
timing.
Yeah, so we have a woman of color enters the race, then a white woman enters the race, and now the white woman is in the runoff against the black man, but they're both like rich developer candidates essentially. So,
like you said, people can go down to the Secretary of State's office and find out who's funding whom.
You might want to put the link in there, Sister Leah. Okay, I have to live in this city, so fine, go mayors. But
well, in the other interesting race, you're probably.
Oh, yeah. I'm like totally behind on all kinds of stuff. Okay. So the other races though, so my documentary, we were following more candidates than just Dr. Lisa Calderon. We also were following Candace Baca and Veronica Barella, and both of them are now in runoffs. So we have a lot of runoffs, and I feel like you have notes because you look real prepared versus my hot mess. So like I noticed that. So yeah, there's 5 runoffs or something.
Councilwoman Mary Beth Assessment. She's an incumbent. She faces Amanda Sawyer.
Okay.
And then Albus Books in District 9 faces his opponent, Candy C. Baca, in a runoff. Jamie Gillis, as we discussed with Michael Hancock.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Veronica Barella
Veronica,
and
right.
Jamie Torres.
That's right.
In District 3.
Yeah.
So it's so crazy to me because I've been so invested in this and following the campaign, and it's like we have to do it all over again, basically. Like these runoffs, this is crazy to me.
Well, it is crazy and it's exhausting, but you know what? It's kind of exciting. And it's kind of cool that we've had the highest turnout and we're going to have a big turnout for the runoff too. Yeah. What that says to me is that a lot of people love Denver. And a lot of people have strong opinions about how this city should be operated and run and managed. And they're very different opinions. Yeah. And rather than having, I'm glad for Cashman, he seems like a cool guy in his district and he had no opponents. Well, everybody's happy with him.
Joel Clark. Right. Girl, I thought Joel Clark was black. Because of his name.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry. Unopposed.
Anyway.
Totally unopposed. He was debating himself.
I know. It was hilarious. I know. I moderated some of those.
You have? Yeah. That's right. You moderate the debates. I completely forgot.
The forums. Yeah, many of them.
Yeah.
And then my colleague, Wendy Brockman did the others. Yeah. But anywho, it's an exciting time. Anxiety time too. Anxiety and exciting time for the Mile High City. Yeah. And I think everybody should be excited about it. Get engaged. And if you feel like your vote doesn't count, can I just say this real quick? Look, I'm sick of people, particularly black folks, saying, why do I vote? Doesn't matter. If you don't think it matters, then look at this so-called Rhino district. If you don't think it matters, then take a look at your taxes if you are a property owner. It does matter. So on these runoff elections, make sure that you get out there and vote. And if you feel that some of these candidates are too much the same, they're too similar, then do a write-in candidate. I'm not sure if you can do it for a runoff.
Not for a runoff.
Doggone it. Well,
no, girl.
Then remember,
because I was ready to be writing some stuff in.
I'm like, I don't know if that's factual. But at the very least, you can do is attend meetings and send emails, hold rallies, still be engaged, because we have felt the tipping point since the national election in 2016, and now's not the time to give up. Now's the time to really roll up your sleeves.
And that's part of what I've learned from running with my girls so much is that these municipal elections matter so much.
That's right.
And so like Aurora's municipal elections are coming up. There's municipal elections all over the state of Colorado. People should check that out. School boards, all kinds of stuff. So I want people to pay attention to those things. Yep. And the only other thing I would add is I know that 300 brought out a lot of voters. 300 was essentially to decriminalize being homeless and repeal the urban camping ban. And it was totally defeated, but we decriminalized magic mushrooms.
So let me say something about that. So the 300, the question, neither vote yes or no, for or against, is the answer to homelessness. So the question, it was a wrong question to begin with. Mm-hmm. And the problem, we do have a homeless issue, people without homes, and we're not just talking, there's so many different factors. We've got people who don't have the resources for mental care.
Right.
Then we've got people who are living paycheck to paycheck, and we've got families and children on the street. So let's deal with those issues. Let's deal with the real problem. Let's engage those folks in part of the solution, and ask a real question about how we get to the bottom of that. Why is this happening? When homes here in Denver are now, $3,000, $1,500 for anywhere between $1,500 and $3,000 a month for rent.
Yeah.
Forget about owning anything if you haven't owned anything since the early 2000s, unless you're a bazillionaire. So we're going to just see this homelessness issue continue to grow, and it won't look like the people that we're so stereotypical used to looking at being homeless, who need compassion and care too. We're talking about people who are the middle class, who are now living in their cars. Yeah. That's the issue. Deal with that. Don't say we can't have people camping and then say, well, we don't care about homeless people. That's not a real conversation.
Okay. I'm hearing that. That's going to have to be continued because it's a heavy, heavy topic.
Yeah, it is. So. That's a whole half an hour in itself.
It is. Mm-hmm. And so, but yeah, mushrooms are not legal, people. I just want to let people know. Right. Mushrooms, not legal, but they're kind of decriminalized if you're taking a microdose for being PTSD or whatever. So Google that. I don't have time for that right now.
It just means that it's not a priority for law
Right.
enforcement.
And I think that's fine, personally. Okay? So before we wrap it up because people be on me to just wrap it up over here. Am I looking at you? I'm looking at you. Yes, you guys, I have 2 producers now. Moving on up. So I just want to do a real quick, this is my favorite part of doing Off Color, and it's my little song. Positive news for people of color. Okay, I'm working on it.
That's a catchy jingle.
This is what I'm working on, but I thought this was a really great news is that right now Black women are making history all over the place, but one area is the women who hold the title of Miss USA, Miss Teen, and Miss America. Do you know what they all have in common?
Sister girls.
They're all Black.
That's right.
And it's really historic. And what is even more historic is 2 of them, Miss USA and Miss Teen, wore their natural hair, which doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it is. It's really beautiful and celebratory of all of
that's right
of all of us. And so
our hair is our crown, right?
Yeah.
And being told, not too long ago when I was beginning in my career, you're doing a great job, but your hair looks too ethnic. Really? And I was straight out of school, 22, straight out of college, 22, 23. I'm like, I don't understand. What?
Yeah.
So dumbfounded. So now when we have these high-profile women just going,
natural. I'm feeling a little natural to myself today. You know what I'm saying?
You are.
It's raining, girl. I don't even know how you're going out here in this rain like that.
It's called an umbrella and a raincoat and lots of product.
Okay. So, Tamara, what's next for you? If you want to just give us like an update, or is there anything you want to let us know about you're working on?
Yeah, so many cool, awesome things I'm working on. Where do I start? Internationally, that's my thing. Just got back from Haiti, working on a piece that heightening the awareness about the health disparity issues in Haiti, and this little clinic that sees 60 to 70 people every day, and they're building a maternity center because the maternal mortality rate and the infant mortality rate is out of this world.
Is it higher than in the U.S. for Black women?
It's real.
Just wondering.
No, it is. And why? And that's a whole. Let's do that show, right? I'm working on something like that. That also. Did you know that? Oh gosh, I can't remember the number. I just found this out. There is a large number of Black women who have hysterectomies. Not by choice. So what is that about? So another story I'm working on is a friend of mine, Jamie Van Leeuwen, and his organization, Global Living Institute, have been putting on these concerts in Uganda and Rwanda. And what happens is they bring over a couple of American musicians and artists and perform with the local folks, and it's a free concert, but you get free HIV/AIDS testing, and then if you test positive, you have resources there that they'll turn you on to. So I'm working on that to pitch to various news organizations, and we'll see if that happens. If they say no, then I'll just do it myself, like I've done before.
Girl, sometimes the only way to get our shit done is for us to do it.
That's right.
So that's what I'm doing right now. So I wanted to let you know I do have a small gift for you today. So I do like to do gifts. So for you today, now I know, spoiler alert, fam, we did interview the lovely Miss Tamara Banks for our film, Running with My Girl. And so we do. I know that you can't endorse anybody, but you can endorse me.
The film, yeah, exactly.
You can endorse me.
Totally worth
okay? So we have the shirt. It says Running with My Girls. And then on the back, which I know you can endorse, is To Run Far, Run Together.
I'm going to wear that tomorrow morning on my run. I run 2 to 3 miles every day, and on weekends 4 to 6 miles. I'm just saying. I'm going to wear this. I'm going to wear this tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Tamara. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
This has been great. And so, fam, let us know. Follow me on Twitter. Whatever. I give up. Yes. Teely's. Oh, snap. So if you want to check me out on Saturday, Teely's, I'm screening my film, What Makes a Mother. We're doing a brunch. So if you want to come, it's going to be at 10 to 12:30. We're going to have a brunch. The tickets are $20. You get either shrimp and grits, vegan crab cakes, a dessert, and a coffee, mimosas for purchase. And you watch the film. And then I'm also doing a reading of my children's book.
This Saturday, the
11th. I know, I'm last minute. I don't have my life together. What do you want from me, producers? Just cut the line, then. I can see your faces. Tune in another week or something if I still have a job. Hey-o! Yay! Thank you so much.
you.
Oh, that was pretty good, huh?
You're awesome.
I hope it's cut now. Cut? Okay.